our spooky friends, and welcome to another episode of the Scariest Podcast.
Woo!
I'm Robin Grace, and this is Adam Diaz, and we're going to tell
Hello.
you some cool stuff today.
Indeed we are. I'm pretty excited. We got to episode 65. I just mentioned this to Robin before we started recording, but this is now officially the longest we've ever done a podcast because our previous podcast broke up. I think 64 was the last episode for it.
No way.
Yeah, so we made it longer than any of the other ones, which is awesome, and it's because of you wonderful spooky friends
Yeah,
that support
it's because
us.
of this amazing community that we've built, and it's absolutely amazing how awesome you all are and supportive and kind to each other, most important. And we just love you all.
Yeah, we're very happy. We're very inspired by you folks. And I know Robin got inspired. I will say, I'm going to toot my own horn just a little bit. For Valentine's Day.
I don't want to toot my own horn, but toot.
For Valentine's Day, I got Robin a new drawing pad because she has like a little electronic drawing pad that she does stuff on. Because it was in her, like, you should get me this Amazon list. And by the way, that makes things really easy for your spouse to find things to buy for you if you just have a list that's called Get Me These Things. So I went in there, I found one, and I was like, cool, this is perfect. And she made a new design, and she put it up, and you folks seem to be responding very well to it. You guys have liked it on all our social medias and stuff like that. So if you haven't looked at it yet, go check it out. It's very, very cool. But yeah, it's been a pretty fun week. We've been having a good time, and we're planning out that trip that we're going to be announcing soon, very soon. Expect an announcement this week on dates when it comes to the Winchester Mansion. So fun stuff. But like we told you guys last episode, we're not going to be doing the homegrown horrors anymore on the topic episodes. It's going to be strictly limited to the storytime episodes. So you can find those there. The topic episodes are just going to be our topics from now on. So fun stuff. Robin, what are you going to be covering this week?
I'm going to be covering the Ancient Ram Inn.
The Ancient Ram Inn.
Yeah.
I've never heard of it. It's kind of funny because I kind of wanted to do a cryptid this week, and I wound up doing a hotel. So we're both covering, basically
so
we're
it's
covering
a haunted
hotels.
week.
It's a haunted hotel week. It's a haunted place that you book a room and stay at.
Well, you can't book a room and stay at this place.
Oh, well, I mean, you could have before, I guess. I don't know. I'm going to be covering the Congress Plaza Hotel in Chicago, Illinois. So pretty excited to do that.
Chi-town.
Chi-town. Chicky G. Shout out.
Who calls it Chicky G?
I'll tell you who does. Tenacious D.
Shut up.
I saw Tenacious D, I think 2005, maybe a little bit later. And that's what they called it at the beginning of the show. And then halfway through the show, they're like, "Is everyone calling it that by now?" I still call it that because I don't want to say I worship them, but I love them dearly with my heart and soul. So yeah, good stuff. Are you gonna be going first, or will I?
I'll go first.
Right on.
You weirdo. Anyway,
I'm not a weirdo for really liking Jack Black and Kyle Gass.
I love.
It's a great
Tenacious
show,
D.
great music.
I've never seen them live.
They're great,
but I enjoy them as people.
What's funny is
I wouldn't say I would ever worship them.
I said I don't worship them. I just love them very deeply. The story I told about people going in like the wrong directions during the Bermuda Triangle episode, that was the Tenacious D concert I went to. Because we just got off like the freeway, and if we just took a right, it was half a block to our right, like the big Aragon Ballroom in Chicago, Illinois. And we took a left and drove for like an hour in the wrong direction before we turned around and drove for 45 minutes in the right direction. Then the guy who got us lost in the first place was like, "We need to turn back around," just like that pilot during that whole Flight 19 thing. So we missed all the opening acts, but we got there just in time for Tenacious D. So
when we went to go see Panic at the Disco, if we had missed the opening acts, I would have been very disappointed and very upset.
Yeah, there were some good opening acts at Panic. So was happy. We still waited like 2 hours just to get into that parking lot, because there was a cop directing traffic that did not care.
It wasn't 2 hours, but we
waited a long time.
It was like 45 minutes.
No, it was like at least an hour. Like we stayed in the same spot for at least an hour. Basically, people were going into the left turning lane, turning right across like 5 lanes of traffic, going up to where you enter the parking lot, where the cop was supposed to be telling people like, "No, go back around," and he was just letting people merge in. And some guy in like a Mercedes, like a convertible, like yelled at the cop like, "What the fuck are you doing?" So of course the cop stopped everyone from going in to yell at the guy in the Mercedes for yelling at him. So yeah, that was a fun concert though. I enjoyed it. So
it was very fun.
It was at the Cosmo. It was at the pool, so we were outside. So it's a blast. I think it was my birthday too. So good stuff.
This week is haunted location week for both of us. In my script I totally said me because I thought you were doing a cryptid, so I was like, okay.
I really wanted to
but
find
I guess
one.
it's a haunted location week for the two of us. And it seems like England is definitely not at all short of having haunted locations.
They've been around for a while, so yeah.
It's absolutely incredible. It's amazing, and I totally want to visit there sometime. I mean,
I feel like
minus ghosts.
there's such rich history in England that it's impressive that not every single place there is haunted.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, even if you built a new house, you're probably building on the bones of someone.
Oh my.
Because it's just been around for a very long time. There's very limited space. I'm just saying. So.
Well, anyway. So, I mean, for me, I wouldn't go there just for the creepy things anyway.
I'd
I want to
there
go
for a
there
lot
for
of
the
stuff.
culture, for
The food.
the food.
I want to absorb
for the
my
Harry
way.
Potter set tour.
Wow. I want to absorb my way into the culture via food. That's what I try and do pretty much everywhere I visit that's foreign. So
I love food. I don't know if I'd love food there.
why is that?
I don't know. They got them like blood sausage and all that stuff.
You don't have to try the gross stuff. It's not like we ate live octopus while we were over in Japan. So.
But I don't know.
I imagine everything is basically going to be made for me by Paul Hollywood, and he's going to tell me what a good bake everything has. And so I'm like, I really want to go.
I'm down for all the desserts for sure.
I'm down for I love savory pastries, and Japan had a lot of those, and I know England has a lot of those. So totally
You're
down
a
to go.
savory pastry.
Thank you. Sweet on the outside, meat on the inside. I don't know if that's a thing.
I was thinking more like the layers, a little like crusty.
Wow, this is getting really awkward.
Okay, no. But any of our UK friends, just let us know what we have to do or eat or
When we eventually
visit, because we have no idea. When we went to Japan, I researched like obsessively, but
obsessively is putting it lightly.
Yeah,
she planned for like 10 months.
Not 10 months, maybe like 8 months. But I did plan a lot. Anyway, with the UK, I don't know anything about there. I don't know any fancy places to go or whatnot. I haven't even looked into it. So let us know, UK friends. All right, going into my story now. This is about the Ancient Ram Inn. And this quote-unquote ancient inn is located in Gloucestershire, which is totally spelled very interestingly. Like,
say it phonetically, how it's spelled.
Gloucestershire. It's spelled very interestingly, but it's said very simply.
Gloucester?
Gloucestershire.
Gloucestershire? Worcester.
Okay. Something like that, right? Like kind of like how
Worcester is spelled very weird, and I'm still probably saying it wrong.
But yeah, so it's in Gloucestershire, England, and it's located in the village of Watton Underage. These names.
I like how you can say the names from Japan like no problem, but the ones
those are
that
all
are in
phonetic.
But the ones that are in your phonetic spelled in a different language.
No, it's like it's just like they're all syllables. Like even the letters, it's all two letters that make a sound, and it's phonetic. So if you typed it in Romaji, which is just English letters, you type how it would generally sound.
Generally, yeah. Go ahead. Put the generally in there to cover up the fact that a lot of the stuff that
There's
we read is just very difficult.
No, going back to this thing. So it was once owned by the St. Mary's Church when it was first built in 1145. It's a historic building, like it's literally labeled a historic building, a grade 2 historic building. And it's said to be one of the most haunted hotels in the country. But I mean, who doesn't claim that they're the most haunted in anywhere?
Basically, if you hear a pipe creak, even if your house is brand new, you're like, most haunted place in America, most haunted place in the UK.
I don't know if this is legitimate or true or anything, but there's a lot of things that seem to go on here. Granted, they like come mainly from the most recent owner, but we'll get there.
Do you think that some people start marketing their place as haunted to try and increase the property value? Because I feel like for a while that definitely would have driven the property value down. But with like people's, I wouldn't say recent, I think it's always been this way, but with the explosion in like paranormal interest across the board, I don't think
the market is open for that. Like you might have a house that people would be interested in, but said people live completely different area from you and aren't willing to move just to move into this haunted house.
Right. I think that's a very specific target. Maybe I'm thinking more along the lines of stuff like the Dybbuk box, where it might have just been some crappy artifact.
That you can just do on eBay.
Where it's a garbage, where it's a garage sale item where you're like, I'm going to sell it on eBay, but I'm going to make up a scary story. Like maybe it's not made up. I covered that and I think it's a very good story, but I'm just saying like if you have some piece of garbage in your garage, you're like, man, I want to make a lot of money off this. Write a short story about it. Like I really feel like that's the way things are going, where people start to make up more and more garbage when it comes to paranormal stuff.
Maybe. So the Ancient Ram Inn has been investigated by a number of different paranormal researchers, including our favorite person, Zach Bagels. That's the Ghost Adventures, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Pretty sure.
It's said to be so creepy that locals won't even walk past the inn at night. They will cross the street to avoid it.
I was so sure you were going to say so creepy and then something that Zach Bagels has said about how creepy it was. The only thing you could tell me that would make me think some place is haunted is if that dude was like, this place isn't haunted. I would be like, that's a fucking haunted place, and he just didn't want to go inside. Because if it wasn't haunted, he would definitely go inside and make something up. So,
all right.
I hate Ghost Adventures. Just saying.
Despite being called the most evil place I have ever had the misfortune to visit by a retired Reverend John Yates, the former Bishop of Gloucestershire, I think it's interesting. I despite being called the most evil place ever.
I'm smiling at her. I don't know if you can hear her smiling back at me because I just looked over at her script, and Gloucestershire isn't spelled the proper way. It's spelled phonetically. So that she can make sure she can nail the pronunciation.
At the beginning, it says it's spelled the right way, and then it has a pronunciation, and then further down, it just has a pronunciation. Okay.
So I'm just saying you haven't mastered it, and I think that's a brilliant idea that I need to incorporate into my scripts because I trip over the names of everything all the time, and you're like, you're so dumb. I didn't realize you were cheat sheeting these.
BT Dubs, he has said that because he tried to perform an exorcism on the place and it didn't work. So
maybe you just suck at exorcisms, bro.
That's fucked up.
It's mildly evil, and you're just really bad at exorcisms. It could be a possibility. I'm tossing it out there.
On the outside, it doesn't look that bad. It looks bad, but it doesn't look that bad. It's pretty unassuming. It does look pretty run down with the walls on the outside, but it still looks kind of cute. It looks like a cottage in a village, you know? And looks can be deceiving, right? I mean, what is that thing from Mary Poppins?
The cover is not the book, so open it up and take a look. That one?
Yeah. That's totally it. Thank you. Visitors have described the aura of the inn as, quote, pure filth, dark and heavy.
Wow, that's really
quote.
mean.
Yeah.
Pure filth. Those two words combined are very, very mean.
The inn.
The next kid that yells at me on Xbox Live, I'm going to be like, you're pure filth.
The inn used to house the priests, slaves, and workers who helped construct the St. Mary's Church.
Okay. Quick question about that. Priests, slaves, and workers, or priests, slaves?
The priests' slaves.
So there's a proprietary stance. They had slaves and workers.
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I read on the internet.
When I heard that, I thought that I must be thinking this wrong because I'm so cynical, but apparently I heard that right. I heard the apostrophe in the correct spot. That's pretty messed up that priests had slaves.
I mean, maybe the priests didn't own them. Someone owned them. And
the priests were just renting them?
No. Okay. So maybe the priests were just part of the church that are getting built. And whoever's funding it is like, here, have some slaves.
Here, have some. Would you like a cup of slaves? Would you like to borrow a bowl of slaves? That's fucked up.
It is really messed up just that they existed at all. But that's what the internet says. What can I say? It was bought by a Maurice de Bath in 1930. And since then, the ownership has changed hands multiple times. The inn stopped serving brewskis in 1968 because I guess it used to be a brewery.
Okay.
Before, or like a pub and B&B kind of thing. Like you could actually stay there, drink there.
It's a good thing to have if you're serving alcoholic beverages as a place to crash.
Yeah.
I think everyone should consider that.
So it stopped serving drinks and whatnot in 1968 and was bought by a man named John Humphreys, who owned it until his death in December of 2017. So it's very, very recent.
I was gonna say, yeah.
I can't believe how recent that is, and I can't believe I had never heard of this place before.
I honestly, when you told me what it was, I was like, those words go together, and that sounds like a place.
Okay. The land that the inn is built on is supposedly the intersection of two ley lines, and for those of you that have never heard of ley lines or watched any of the Robert Langdon movies, ley lines are lines located all over the world that are said to be conduits of high spiritual energy. What?
Nothing.
Are you just thinking?
Okay, there's two things I'm thinking. One is who wrote Da Vinci Code, because now I forgot. Dan Brown, that's who it is. Okay. And the other one I was thinking
my bookkeeper showing, or my bookstore seller is showing.
Wow, that's a lot of things.
I know. I used to work for Borders.
The other thing I was thinking of, I've completely forgotten about this point.
R.I.P. I recommend Angels and Demons with Tom Hanks. I like it. Thriller, roller coaster.
It's not nearly as good as the other one, which isn't even that good, but I think it's more fun.
I like Angels and Demons because it has Ewan McGregor in it.
I really liked
the
third one, Angels in the Outfield, because shit gets so crazy. Like, I did not see the code coming. That kid flapping his wings or arms or whatever they were, he was saying there was an angel in the outfield. And then Tony Danza is in it too. Like, that one's super crazy.
Hold me close, young Tony
I hate
Danza.
you so much. I can't believe Joseph Gordon-Levitt is that kid in that freaking movie.
Oh my gosh, I feel old. Why would you do this to me?
And then Doc Brown gets stuck in there. He's like, we have to go back to the future. It was a fucked up movie. That's all I'm saying.
Is he in that movie?
He's the angel. He's the guy who comes down. He's the guy who comes down and is like, you can see angels, weirdo. Like, let's figure out a signal.
No, he's not.
That's Doc Brown. That's Christopher Lloyd.
Oh my Lanta.
This is why we have to have a movie podcast, because Robin doesn't remember actors across the board.
I had it on VHS too. Okay, we gotta watch that movie.
We gotta watch the whole trilogy now.
I was like, wait, there's a trilogy for Angels in the Outfield? Oh my gosh, stop making this confusing. Anyway, yes, Angels and Demons, Tom Hanks, go watch it. Ewan McGregor, so hot. Anyway, things I learned on the internet today. Supposedly, you can trace ley lines through Stonehenge. And legend has it that Stonehenge is some energy epicenter.
We need to do an episode on Stonehenge. Yeah. We really do.
And that energy can be found in the ancient Ram Inn. And even more intense is an ancient pagan burial ground is reported to have existed on the inn's location over 5,000 years ago. And there's a number of legends that lend to the idea or tale that this inn is home to dark things. And what's really interesting about the church is that the church was supposedly purposefully built on a ley line.
That is interesting.
Which I don't know if it's true or not. I mean, it could be just utter bull nonsense, but...
So ley lines are basically like the veins of spiritual energy that flow through Mother Gaia, our Earth, right?
Sure, I mean, but Gaia to me is like Final Fantasy.
Yeah, I figured you'd go there. Well, what's interesting to me is if you have places that are being constructed on ley lines, why is it always that you're doing something evil there? There's got to be good energy that people summon every now and then too.
Like in Angels and Demons, spoilers, they go to that museum with the pyramid, and the ley lines all join together at that point.
Or were they summoning good things there, like I was just mentioning?
I mean, it had to do with Jesus.
Or did you just feel like they didn't summon Jesus there?
But
you just felt like bringing that movie up again. I totally thought you were going to say, well, in Angels in the Outfield, the Angel Stadium is built on a ley line, which is exactly...
That be cool?
Well, that would make sense why the kid could see angels there. I'm just saying. Oh, it would have been so cool if they crossed over with Sixth Sense and Haley Joel Osment's like, I see what they look like before they became angels. Like, that dude out there helping him catch the fly ball, his head is bashed in. Just like that would have been the perfect crossover.
Oh my god.
Where it's like this wonderful movie through Joseph Gordon-Levitt's eyes, then Haley Joel Osment's eyes, just like you weep with fear.
I love that meme that got posted about Kingdom Hearts, where it's like, this is how you know how long it's been since Kingdom Hearts. Like,
where it's like Kingdom Hearts 2, like voice actor Haley Joel Osment.
Haley Joel Osment, and he looks so young.
He's Sixth Sense age, right?
Yeah, he's young. He's very young. But then you zoom to Kingdom Hearts 3, where he's like bearded, like
it's like in his late 20s, bearded fat dude, looks super happy though.
He's very happy.
I'm happy he's happy. I hope he's actually happy and he doesn't just look like that. Maybe he's really sad inside, and that'd
be super sad.
I hope he's probably in a good mood. He's been rich for a very long time.
Oh, so. Okay. I mean, does he do movies still? I don't even know.
He's in a TV show. I'm pretty sure he's in Silicon Valley. So haven't watched it. I know he's in a TV show. I don't know exactly which one it is. Let's get back to the Ram Inn.
We're going to ram some knowledge into you. Okay.
That was terrible.
This whole episode.
When you messaged me and said, have we done the Ram Inn? The first thing I thought was, I swear to God, this is my thought process. The first thing I thought was like, is she talking about something she just read on Urban Dictionary? And the second thing was, did she mean to send this to someone else? Like, hey, do you want to meet up with me? And I was like, this whole, it's a topic. My bad, dog. So that's exactly what went through my head.
Yeah, you're the one looking up Charizarding, so.
Hey, it came on my Facebook feed, and I was like, that was really weird, because if I wouldn't have said book feed, it would have been really gross.
Guys, don't look it up.
Don't look up Charizarding on Urban Dictionary, which you're probably going to go do right this minute. It's really weird. It's just something that I scrolled past. I didn't go looking for it, but I had to share it with Robin. Okay, let's keep going.
The supposed burial ground location is in what they call the men's kitchen, because, men should be the one cooking.
Wow.
Even though I did make amazing dinner tonight.
You did.
I mean, it wasn't amazing. It was good. It was healthy.
It was really good, though. It was tasty. You're going to say that and not tell them what it was? It was zucchini nudes?
Yeah, I made some zucchini nudes and like chicken thighs, but I squeezed like a whole lemon in there, and I put thyme and sage. Sage is the needly needles, right?
Sure.
Okay. I think it was sage. So I put thyme, sage, lemon, like squeezed lemon in the chicken thighs and stuff, and put like pepper, salt, lemon pepper, garlic salt.
This is Robin's cooking corner. Parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme.
I put a lot of pretty good stuff in there, and it came out all right.
It was very good.
I was surprised. I was like, man, this is going to be trash, but it wasn't that bad.
Man, this is going to be trash. That's what went through your head.
The noodles were good, and I made pesto. The pesto was good, too.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, homemade pesto. You guys should do it. Like, it's not that hard. Don't buy the canned stuff because it tastes like shit.
It really doesn't. It just doesn't taste as good as homemade.
Yeah, but there's not enough flavor. I feel like when you buy it in the little jars, it's so oily, and it's just like...
Yeah, but it sits, so the oil separates from it, so that makes sense.
You sit.
I do. The oil separates from me as well. I'd like to point out that I made dinner Friday and Saturday. Amazing ribs Friday and chicken nachos with all the fixins.
So we're going
to
call you that kitchen, the man's kitchen, men's kitchen.
I was in the man's kitchen.
So you belong in there. I should never go back in there.
Okay, that's fine.
The sound of a baby crying is often heard here in the men's kitchen.
Wow.
So
that's weird because they don't have the babies.
I don't know how this works. This is
well,
just
when a
what
man loves a woman. Let me explain
Shut up.
this.
When a man. We love music, and so
do we though?
I think we love music. I love music. Okay,
we love music, but Robin loves to hate anything that I like. That she's just not into at that moment.
I love music, so we always have these stupid musical tangents, I feel like. I don't know.
It happens in everyday life. I'll be talking to her, and she'll just start singing a song based off of one word I said in the right sing-songy way, and I'm just like, I'm going to punch you in the face.
So, what is a haunted inn without ghosts? Am I right?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it wouldn't be haunted. It's just an inn.
We'll get into that. No. One of the legends surrounding the ancient Ram Inn is that of a witch that was burned at the stake in the 1500s. And back in the day, I mean, persecuting, burning people who practice anything other than Christianity wasn't uncommon. Like, they were just like, bro, you don't believe in our Lord and Savior.
You don't believe in our Lord and Savior. You must be evil.
Yeah.
But if you aren't, you'll sink to the bottom of this lake. If you are, you'll float and you'll survive. And then we'll pull you out of the lake and kill you.
I just think that is the worst, like, time of human, not even the worst time of human.
There's been a lot of horrible times.
Yeah, humans are horrible.
What the bottom
things.
line thing here is if there's so many people where if you don't think like them, they think that you should be killed and they should be allowed to kill you. And then they hedge their bets with, but if you live, you're still evil and we're still going to kill you.
They henge their bets.
Hey, I hate
Stonehenge.
you so much.
Okay, so yeah, no. Crap like that happened all the time. It's ridiculous and insane, and I wish the world were a better place.
Insane in the membrane.
It's thought that this woman's spirit still haunts a particular one of the rooms in the house, which they've dubbed the witch's room. And I didn't see what she actually does to people. I'm sure she just goes around and goes, whoa.
Are you sure?
No.
She might just go around and recommend essential oils that will help them fix their asthma.
Another interesting belief is that by redirecting water around on the property to bring water to the church, that they've opened some sort of portal of dark energy. And I read...
water's the elixir of life. How is that possible?
I read an article that happened a bit, like whenever they changed the geography of some place, some energy opens up or something like that. Like when you, because they rerouted how water should go, like by changing that geometry or whatever, they break something and open some portal. I don't know. The internet.
I'm just imagining people are rearranging the pipes, like how they did in Las Vegas, like Warm Springs, and I can't remember the intersection, but they had it ripped, like Warm Springs and Eastern, I think it was. They had it ripped apart because they were redoing like all the pipes underneath
Crosstown
it.
interceptor.
I don't know what that means, but what I'm saying is that I think you just named off a police car.
No.
But what I'm saying is that they changed around.
Where I work, we literally did it. I think it's called like the PCI. It's like the Whitney interceptor.
So you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
then.
I know what you're talking about.
I'm just saying that they probably rearranged the pipes to like make make the shape of the Deathly Hallows. So like if you're directly in the middle, then you can finally defeat Lord Voldemort or some shit. I don't know. I'm just saying like what you're saying right now sounds like Harry Potter nonsense to me. So
back in the day, that piping stuff didn't exist like we know it is now. To me, what I think it is they made like some sort of dam or something somewhere and rerouted that water to go in a completely different direction so that they could have the water reach the church. I don't know. I don't know how it worked.
So they used like an aqueduct to make sure that a place that had a lot of people in it had a water source.
Is that Jason Momoa?
I'm just I hate you so much. I'm just saying it doesn't sound like they're rerouting stuff to be evil. I'm just saying it sounds like they're just rerouting stuff so they can drink water. No, I don't think
they made it to be evil, but it's like because you change the land or the layout of the land or whatever, it opens, and plus it's on ley lines. Hello? They probably just changed something.
Is that what they say, the lay of the land?
Shut up.
I'm just kidding. I'm pretty sure that's not what they say.
Oh my god, that'd be so cool though. Okay, no, anyway, whatever.
So you read an article that says that by moving around water, they changed the spiritual energy.
They opened up some sort of dark portal. John Humphreys, the one that passed away in 2017, claimed that he's experienced a number of different specters within the home. And according to Humphreys, on his first night at the inn, he was totally grabbed by the arm by some demonic force and was dragged from the bed across the room.
How does he know it was demonic?
He doesn't know. This is just some dude.
People that are very afraid. I'm just standing up for all the ghosts that are listening to this right now. Like, just because you grab someone, maybe he was. I wake the dogs up when they're yelping in their dreams. Maybe he was having a bad dream, and some ghost was like, "Hey, bro," and he sways it a little bit too hard and just yanked him out of the bed. Just take everything like assume positive intent. That's what I was told right before I got laid off. So why shouldn't you? It's just they could be a good guy. Is all I'm saying. So
okay. The longer that they lived there, the more things he found. He discovered evidence of devil worship and ritual sacrifice, and how much of that can be supported by evidence, I couldn't tell you. He apparently discovered skeletal remains of children under the staircase, and no, it wasn't Harry Potter.
I was going to say, he never got his letter.
Wow.
Alternate ending, J.K. Rowling.
Like so much dark humor.
It's not that dark.
There were broken daggers within the skeletons, which is a sign that
they were stabbed.
I'm gonna say trigger warning. Okay, trigger warning. Skip ahead a couple times. If you hate hearing about kids, whatever. But those, to me, it's a sign that they were probably brutally murdered with those daggers.
Yeah.
And I mean, unless they were laying nicely on top of the skeletons. Maybe, and they fell through, and
maybe someone kept their skeleton collection underneath the stairs, but they also kept their broken dagger collection, and that's just a big assumption we're making.
Yeah, that's what the signs tell me, and I'm not saying that I'm a psychic and I can figure it out
or a
over
CSI
the ocean,
person,
right? But I'm gonna speculate. That's my speculation. People ascending the stairs from the first floor have been thrown up the stairs by invisible hands. There's been a photo.
That's probably the best direction to be thrown. When it comes to stairs, though.
Really?
Is up them and not down them? Yeah, I'd say so. You don't want to fall downstairs.
Being thrown downstairs, though, you're not technically falling. You're just like, oh, I'm on the first floor.
No, you said that they were thrown going up the stairs.
Yeah.
Like they were thrown up, right?
Yeah, but you're saying that's better than being thrown down?
Yeah. When you're thrown down, gravity has a different effect than when you're thrown up. Gravity is your friend when you're being thrown up. As someone who's fallen down and fallen upstairs, I know you're the authority on this.
Being tossed down, you know what I mean? Maybe being shoved and you can catch yourself at the bottom. I don't know. I would.
No, never. I've seen Death Becomes Her way too many times. Being thrown downstairs is always going to be far worse than thrown up the stairs.
Well, you win.
Meryl Streep, back me up on this.
Anyway, there has been a photo supposedly taken showing a white mist like the size of a person on the stairs, but I've yet to see the picture myself. I didn't actually go and try to research like ghost picture at Ancient Ram Inn. But a lot of the photos that I have seen, none of them had ghosts in it. They were just regular photos of outside the inn or all the different rooms. Until Humphrey's death in 2017, he adamantly, continuously just claimed that the inn was haunted, and he never said otherwise. And said that he was attacked by different entities on a regular basis. And to me, I'm just like, why would you keep living there?
Right.
Why would you
Did you say how he died?
Being
thrown up the stairs?
No, I didn't see how he died. One of the most haunted rooms in the inn is called the bishop's room. And
you can only move at diagonals when you're in this room.
The first floor room is the scene of many a guest noping the F out of there, and it's said to have an oppressive and disturbing atmosphere. And when the inn was still a bed and breakfast, a lot of guests refused to sleep in that room. Some actually that ended up sleeping there fled in the middle of the night. The daughter of Humphreys has even said that it was normal for them growing up to have people just run out of the house.
That's pretty messed up.
Screaming, yeah. An innkeeper's daughter is said to have been murdered in the roof space in the 1500s. Some attempting to sleep in the bishop's room often hear the sound of, quote unquote, something heavy being dragged across the floor above their heads. And I just imagined The Grudge, where...
I've only seen it one time.
We got to watch it again then.
Ugh.
Well, there's, spoilers. If you guys haven't watched it already, then, you brought this upon yourself. But there's a scene where she hears a loud noise up in the attic, and then she goes into the closet, right? Because there's the closet where they put all the futons and all that stuff in there. And she opens up the closet, and this body, this black, like, trash bag, but a body in it, slides down out through the attic, like, hole into the closet and starts, like, crawling out.
It's super creepy.
It's super creepy. I don't know. And that's where that chick that makes that weird throat sound comes out. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I remember. That's all I remember about that movie is that sound.
Anyway, that's what the whole idea of hearing something heavy above you getting dragged.
Triggered for you.
Right. And it's said that a monk haunts that room on a regular basis. A medium once pushed open the door only to be lifted off the ground and flung across the corridor.
I thought monks were nice.
I don't know if the monk did it, but a spirit did it.
The monk just watched.
Maybe he was just like, oh man, sorry.
He was
non-confrontational.
Like,
Oh my gosh. It's said that you can hear the screams of a man who was supposedly murdered by having his head thrust into a fire. I imagine those screams were not pleasant. A phantom shepherd...
This feels really terrific. I'm sure that's what he shouted as he burned to death.
A phantom shepherd and his dog have been seen near the door to the inn as well.
It's very cute.
I think that'd be really cute. But I imagine Olivia Colman with the dog. Well, no, she held the kids in Doctor Who. Never mind. But that's what I imagined. I know it's not right, but you know how the dude has his dog in that episode with Matt Smith. Was it the first one? I think it's the first one with Matt Smith.
I'm not sure.
First or second, but it's the
first.
It's the first one with Matt Smith.
You mean the first one with Olivia Colman or the first one with Matt Smith? Because the first one with Matt Smith is when he meets Amy.
Yes. No. I mean the first one where he meets Amy as an adult.
Okay.
Where the prisoner has escaped.
Okay.
Yeah, that one. And then Olivia Colman is holding the kids, and the kids are talking in Olivia Colman's voice, and the kid's like, "Oh, I've done it again."
We need to rewatch it.
Okay. Sorry, let me tell you all about this episode. No. But
yeah, this is every episode of our show as we describe an episode of Buffy, Doctor Who, or some shit that I listen to.
I don't know. Anyway, but
Let me talk to you about Adventure Zone, people.
In that episode, there's a dude with a Rottweiler, and that's just what I imagined, except instead of the dude, it was Olivia Colman.
I just imagine me being with like one of my doggos. Like if I was stuck being a ghost, they were stuck being a ghost. That would be like the most pleasant haunting ever, because it'd be like Yui, our corgi, running around being happy. I'd be like, "Who's a good girl? Oh yeah, boo."
It's Brittany, bitch.
Wow. I will never scream that if I'm a ghost.
I will just cuz.
Cuz what?
Because
you're a big Britney fan?
No,
Scream something you're a fan of.
Because people are always complaining like you never hear any ghosts in the corner.
So you're going to make the people happy by screaming what they think you should say.
I would think it's so funny.
You know what I would scream? I'd be like, "Leave Britney alone," because that's what I'm a fan of.
Dude, is this generation too young to
remember
know?
Britney's meltdown?
Yeah, no, not Britney's meltdown, but the guy that had a meltdown.
The guy who talked about how Britney was going to be okay and to stop torturing
her.
I don't know. I mean, I think that was that's 2007. I'm pretty sure 2007, 2008, right around there. So I mean,
that's like the start of YouTube.
That's 10 years ago. So if we have listeners who are less than 10, then they wouldn't remember it. But I'm pretty sure just about everyone remembers Britney's meltdown.
All right.
Which you really understand the older you get. Okay. You're like, "Yep, I can see that."
There's also talk of a succubus that visits sleeping visitors. I just think our tangents and then going back to the stories are so funny. Okay.
I'm glad you think that, because sometimes I'm like, man, this show sucks.
So there's talk of a succubus that visits sleeping visitors. And I mean, this one doesn't seem so bad unless it drains the life out of you completely, in which case, not so sexy fun times.
And aren't most succubus at least meant to specifically target men?
Well, yes. So
women should be okay if the succubus shows up. They probably just sit around and be like, let me tell you about my ex.
Oh my gosh. Humphreys claimed to be routinely taken advantage of by this pervy entity. And for those of you that don't know, a succubus is in essence a sex spirit / creature, as well as its counterpart, the incubus, not to be confused with the rock band. They feed off the sexual energy of humans. But I guess going into their existence should be its own episode, just like Stonehenge and all that stuff.
Say so.
The next one just reminds me of Rory from Doctor Who.
Oh, God.
Because, cool ghost, a Roman centurion
I knew it.
on horseback.
I could have written it down and folded it up.
So, yes, a Roman centurion on horseback has been spotted. And I was just like, the last centurion. But a plumber saw the apparition of this historic duo.
The plumber was named Mario.
And the spirits startled him before the two went straight through the wall, which would have creeped me out, honestly.
A spirit going through a wall would creep you out.
Yeah, horse and a dude on it. Fun ghosts. It seems like sightings of ghosts of owners past appear in the inn, sitting together with patrons of today, which I think is unlikely, but the idea of that happening is really cute. And the downside is that a lot of this is coming out of the mouth of Humphreys. So, I mean, he was...
A liar?
No.
Possibly.
I mean, towards the end of his life, I was reading a blog post or an article or something from 2015, and this woman went to go check it out. When she went to go check it out and meet him and talk to him and get a tour of the house and all that stuff, it kind of seemed like he was having dementia or Alzheimer's or stuff like that, because he was almost 90.
Right.
So
he was getting up there in age.
Right. And so
his mental faculties weren't what they normally would be.
Right. And so that's why a lot of people think that he's just a con artist and all this stuff is fake.
Like that lady from like the first famous abduction in America that I've talked about before, where at the end of her life she started saying some very crazy stuff. All of a sudden that discounted all the things that she had been saying for the previous 60 years.
Yeah.
So it's it really comes down to like how long have they been saying it and how long have they been showing signs of like reduced mental acuity, I guess is the best way to put it. Because like if you're having trouble separating fantasy from reality, it's gonna really take away from your credibility, which is probably why ghosts and spirits only show up to crazy people. Because they're like, boo, no one will believe you.
Wow.
And they run away.
That's messed up. So the inn was derelict when Humphreys purchased it for a whopping 2,600 euros or pounds. It was pounds. 2,600 pounds. And that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That is so cheap. It's insane.
When did he purchase it?
1968.
Yeah, I was going to say, it was a long time ago.
But it was very derelict. It had no running water. It still has no running water. The man totally lost his wife, lost his money, and even for a time there, lost the relationship with his children over not wanting to leave this place.
Wow. It sounds like he was attached to this place.
Yeah, which I think is absolutely insane. And why he never left, I mean, we'll never know now, considering
he's gone.
He's just passed. Yeah. And it seems some creepy things have happened there from sources that I've read. It seems like the place is just littered with occult paraphernalia. Like, I saw a whole bunch of pictures of the inside, and the attic room literally has a giant Ouija board on the floor.
On the floor? In like
on like a Ouija board on the floor, like a huge one that just sits on the floor. And other pictures had other Ouija boards placed all over different rooms. And it just seems like it's a little bit disturbing, maybe, to have a place that supposedly had all of this weird ritualistic stuff happen.
And still have stuff in there after, like, the person who owned it.
Right. But I wonder how much of the dark energy in that place had to have affected this guy that bought it. And
I think, you know what,
lived there for so long.
Yeah, even if you don't buy the idea that this place is haunted, like if you're living in a place where things are constantly happening to you that are negative, you're just going to associate like negative things in your life with that location. And someone who's like, no, I'm going to stay here forever. It's like, why wouldn't you want to start over at some point, especially if you particularly think that place is haunted? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. But that is the story of the Ancient Ram Inn.
Wow. That was pretty good.
Thank you.
Good work. So thank you for skipping across the pond and telling us that story. There's some really good stuff over there.
Skipping across that Amelia pond.
Wow. I would do that. Shout out.
Karen Gillan, hit you up.
I just got done watching a bunch of videos of thirst tweets on BuzzFeed, so I'm like, am I the thirst tweet guy? Like every single time we do an episode, but what makes me feel better is you're definitely the thirst tweet chick, because you definitely.
I would never say some of the things on there though, where it's like, I would let so and so split me.
Right. Those are some really weird ones.
I was like, what?
People get really in depth because they think that celebrity is never going to see it, and then you see them actually reading it, and they're like, "You have something wrong with you."
There was one we watched with Drew and Jonathan Scott, and I was just like, "Just pick one. You can't pick both. They're two different people."
Yeah, they were all about getting tag teamed by the twins.
And I don't know. Jonathan's my favorite. Always will be. Sorry, Drew, but
wow.
Jonathan, like, hit me up. JK. Anyway,
see, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
So before we move on, I definitely want to give a shout out to our amazing patron Bernadette. I like that you say it like a music like song.
Indeed.
Thank you so much for supporting us, and we are very happy to have you. And we also want to tell you guys about our stores that we have going on.
Inspired by the fact that Robin has created a really, really awesome new design that you folks really seem to be interested in, we should probably go ahead and recap where you can purchase the thing at. So go ahead,
yes,
Robin.
So we have the new design up on our Teespring store. So I think it's like teespring.com/
You can just go to scarish.com, and if you click store on the very top, we have 3 separate stores. One is the Teespring store, which has most of our stuff. One of our stores is Robin's Kawaii Corner, which has specific stuff that Robin has made.
That's my Etsy store.
That's
so
her Etsy
all that's
shop.
my handmade stuff or stuff that I've designed and went out and had produced and things like that. So.
Yeah, so that has like the stickers, it has some of the pins and stuff like that.
Yeah, it has all the Scarish buttons, and I can do zipper pulls and all that fun stuff.
And we have another store that is going live. I mean, technically it is live, but it's the first time it's rolling out, which is our Streamlabs store, which is not specifically for the live streams, but if you purchase something from it, you do get a big notification that pops up on the screen during the live shows, and there's certain products there that you can't find anywhere else. So there's a lot of stuff you can buy stuff right now, so it's a really good time to stop and check that stuff out. Well, I hate you so much.
Stop and stare.
So, and another thing we should mention too is that for all patrons, even the $1 level, which is our lowest level, we have made a promotional code so that you can get a discount off of the products that you purchase from, I think it's Teespring, correct?
Yep, on Teespring. So if you guys hop on, become a patron, you get that 15% off of your order on Teespring.
Is it 15%?
15.
Wow, pretty good. So it would make probably more financial sense to become a patron, get the discount code, and then go and buy something off the Teespring store for 15% reduced price if it's going to be more than $1, because that totally makes sense. But it's up to you. Do whatever. But there's a lot of stuff out there that we hope that you guys enjoy, and go ahead and buy it because it helps us. So.
Yeah, everything helps us out a lot. You guys will rep stuff, which is awesome.
It is. We ordered 2 for ourselves, which I'm very excited about. Robin got herself a shirt. I got myself a shirt. So I don't think we're both going to wear them on the live episode once we get them in, because that would be too much advertising for ourselves. Yeah. Too much S in our own Ds. I got a tank top,
though. I'm so excited.
But we are going to show them off a little bit so you folks can see what they look like. And then any of you who have already ordered it, 1, thank you. And 2, let us know the quality of it, because we really want to know whether or not it's high quality stuff, because we're letting them basically, take money from you folks to send you products that we have not gotten yet. So we want to know if it's good stuff, which so far it's been pretty good reviews.
I know. The shirts and things that I've seen people wear, they're so cute. So I don't know. I love it.
Anyways, so good stuff. I guess I'm going to move on to my topic now, though.
All right.
Right on. So this week, like I said, I really wanted to do a topic that was a cryptid, but I also really wanted to do something that was close to home for where I grew up, because like last week we covered the Beast of Bray Road, which was pretty cool, and I kind of wanted to stick to like the Midwest region. So I looked up a couple of cryptids, but they were mostly like singular sightings, probably like from a drunk person that just saw something that was probably another drunk person.
That's discriminatory.
Or why is that discriminatory in any way, shape, or form?
It's like they must have been drunk.
It was a single sighting by someone I assume was drunk, or they just made shit up, because it was like there's nothing to back up the claims, and I'm just basically finding posts on Reddit of people like, I saw this really crazy thing this one time walking home at 3 a.m. like we all do sober, just saying. So that's why I decided I was going to start looking for a couple of locations, and I wound up getting really caught up reading the history of one particular place. And once I got into like my 6th article, I was like, I should probably just cover this since I can't seem to stop looking up stuff about it. So, dear listener, I present to you the Congress Plaza Hotel. And like I said,
sounds fancy.
It is really fancy, in fact.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and like I said, this tale begins in Sweet Home, Chicago. And like most of the places in Chicago, the Congress Plaza Hotel is quite old and does have a rich history. And it was originally built to house guests during Chicago's World Fair back in the 1890s. So it opened up in 1893, so it's been around for a long time. It's like 125 years at this point. So plenty of time to gather up some dead people and ghost stories, basically. Just like how we were talking about how the UK, basically everywhere over there has been, it's so old it has to have ghost stories at this point. So is it like
American Horror Story Hotel?
Not exactly. That's based off the Cecil Hotel, which we all know.
we all know that.
It's not nearly that haunted, but we'll get to some of the stuff because it actually does have a connection with American Horror Story Hotel.
Shut up.
That said, what's interesting about the building is that it's actually connected to the auditorium theater next to it, and at this point I'm pretty sure they've connected it above ground. But originally, it was connected the two buildings were connected underground, in an underground passage that's like lined with marble, which is some pretty fancy shit. They actually called this like underground tunnel Peacock Alley, which is kind of a really cool name for an alley. Like that should be in like Harry Potter.
No.
Peacock Alley sounds awesome. It's not as good as Diagonal Alley or
no.
Say it. Yes, say it.
Diagon Alley.
Yeah. Oh my God. How can I mess that up?
Because when he went through the flu gate and he said diagonally and went to the wrong place. Where you know where he ended up? Nocturne Alley. So if you don't say it right,
nocturnally,
I'm.
Suck it. Okay. So, anyways, Peacock Alley is definitely way out of the realm of Harry Potter because it doesn't sound anything like those things. But the hotel itself, I'm so glad I didn't let you complete your threat. The look on her face just means that I'm going to get punched here very soon.
Yeah, I'm going to nocturne your face up.
I'm going to nocturne down for what? So the hotel itself
JJ Watt.
I hate you. The hotel itself was expanded in 1902 and then expanded again in 1907. So at this point, it's like 15 years old, and it's been expanded upon twice.
Wow.
As it was clearly proving to be a popular destination. And as it currently stands, the location is just north of 1 million square feet and has 871 guest rooms and suites. So this is a big place, man.
Yeah. Sounds like it.
Yeah.
I mean, how many stories is this thing?
What's really funny is I was totally writing that, and I just imagined it in Drew Scott's voice before I watched the thing with the Property Brothers. And it's like you told him you're shopping around for a hotel, and this is the first one he shows you that's like way out of your price range, and then he takes you to a real piece of shit hotel, and Jonathan is like, I can make this look real dope. And I know he doesn't sound like that, but this is my daydream. So I can have him sound like whatever I want. So anyways, the hotel has this rich history, like rich, capital R-I-C-H. And people
I wanted you to spell that wrong so bad.
People used to stay here during big events because it was like the hotel that popped up during the World Fair, and people just like associated it with that.
Okay.
So
this isn't like H.H. Holmes territory.
Oh, we're going to get there. So people that were native to the area also like to stay here, particularly if they had the coin. So you could imagine that if you came to the Congress, you might bump into like politicians or maybe even
members of Congress.
I hate you. Obviously. Or maybe even see a gangster. And of all those things I mentioned, which was only 2 of them, I think the list was longer and I edited some of them out, but I'm sure the gangster thing most interested people. So which one? Who else? We're talking about Chicago. We're talking about Prohibition era. Obviously, Al Capone and his associates were known to frequent the Congress, with some folks even saying that Capone would at one time live out of the rooms. If you do enough research, that's probably almost 100% not true. Some people actually said he owned it. That's 100% not true. He owned other hotels in Chicago, not the Congress.
I just imagine the My Drunk History, or not. Is it My Drunk History?
It's just Drunk History.
Okay, Drunk History, and it has the what's his name from Brooklyn Nine-Nine as Al Capone and
Joe Triglio.
Yeah,
I think that's how you say his name.
I'm pretty sure that's the Al Capone episode, and he gets like syphilis and stuff.
Yeah,
and he just is sitting at his pool, like
because he was fishing in his pool. Yeah, because he was so like brain dead at that point.
That's all I imagine when I hear Al Capone.
So it's just really funny how his life wound up. They got him on tax evasion, which is just so bizarre of all the people that he murdered. But anyway, so Capone would be there with his associates. And like I said, he didn't own this place. And his associates, on the other hand, they actually like lived out of the hotel. A lot of them were like mainstays of the hotel. Capone would show up to like have meetings and do business. So he would go there to basically get shit done, but he didn't stay there a lot. But you could bump into him there. So it's like, that's a very like popular place to go if you have Al Capone and also politicians going there. And like I said, that underground marble passage, the whole Diagon Alley thing, the whole Peacock Alley existed. It was almost certainly used during Prohibition to move alcohol back and forth where no one would see it going back and forth between the hotel and the auditorium. Because, I mean, if Capone's there and his guys are there and the places are dry, there's something seriously wrong. I'm just saying at some point that had to have happened. So you might be saying, well, Capone lived in Chicago. Of course he was going to stop there. Who else? Well, despite landing on a topic for scary-ish, the place was pretty swanky and had some high-level guests that were politicians, like I mentioned, which means they were probably dirtier than Capone because they're politicians.
Was it Hillary Swanky?
I hate you so much. You are not $1 million baby. So that said, which ones am I talking about? Well, there is a lot. So I'm just going to name off the presidents that stayed here. Because, yes, presidents stayed here. First off, Grover Cleveland. He was the first president that was around when the hotel opened.
Oh, wow.
Also, William McKinley, Teddy Roosevelt, William Howard Taft, Woodrow Wilson, Warren Harding, Calvin Coolidge, and Franklin fucking Roosevelt, which is not his middle name, by the way.
That's not his middle name. FFR.
What would it be really cool if it was, right?
FFR, Flash Revolution.
Basically, every sitting U.S. president from the time this place opened for the next 40 years would stay at the Congress Plaza Hotel. That's how swanky it was, and that's how like rich people were that went there. And the only exception was Calvin Coolidge was said to have stayed there. He might have just visited it. So everyone's not quite sure. He was probably busy, I don't know, driving the country into the Depression. So that's around the same time that shit all went down.
Tell us how it really is.
Well, this is what's funny, though. Around that, a lot of things contributed to the Great Depression, but still Calvin Coolidge was around during that time. In fact, the Republican National Convention was hosted in Chicago in 1912. And at that time, Teddy Roosevelt, who, just so you know, at 1912, he had already been president for 8 years. Then he was out of office for 4. There was a different president after Teddy Roosevelt. I'm pretty sure that was William Howard Taft. 4 years later, he's like, well, I'm going to run for president again because there wasn't the term limit thing yet. FFR was the one who brought the term limit around. So he showed up. He's like, I'm showing up to the Republican National Convention. He went out on his balcony during the time he was staying at the Congress Plaza Hotel, and he spoke to a giant group of people that had gathered in Grant Park, which is just across the street.
Wow.
This dude was just on his balcony in his room talking to this giant mass of people. He clearly couldn't get enough of that, like, presidency power. And as a side note, like, he didn't get elected, so don't worry if you were worried about it from 1912. And if you really want to look up some, like, Teddy Roosevelt stuff, totally do it. It's a very interesting guy.
He likes to walk with a big stick.
I mean, he said, walk softly, but carry a big stick.
Yeah.
So you missed half of that. So
you like to beat people with it?
Yes, that's exactly what it was for.
Was it?
No.
Oh.
I mean, kind of. It's like
it
for
was
self-defense.
figuratively.
Basically, no, that whole thing is like be diplomatic, but also have the ability to beat the shit out of someone if you need to.
It was figurative.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's obviously not literal. He didn't walk everywhere with the big stick. And now we're getting off on a Teddy Roosevelt tangent because I have to tell you that he was walking to the stage to deliver a speech one time, and a fucking guy ran up and shot him in the chest.
Did he hit him with a big stick?
No. I hate you so much. The Secret Service tackled him and hit him with big sticks. Teddy Roosevelt got on stage, took his speech out from his breast pocket.
Yeah.
There was a bullet in it. I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. There was a bullet hole in it. The bullet was still in his chest, and he gave his speech before he went to the hospital. That's super cool. Hashtag just saying. So, okay, we're done talking about Teddy Roosevelt, so we're going to keep moving on. Yeah. So you're probably asking, is that it for the history lesson, Adam?
No.
No, it's not. So we're going to get back to the hotel, though. So when World War II hit, when it hit America, when we were finally involved back in 1941, the hotel became a training school for the Air Force. They basically said, like, stop looking at my script. Why you narrow your eyes when I tell you a fact you don't believe? Like, is that really on there? Yes, it's very much on my script. the Air Force basically came in and said, look, you can't rent any rooms to civilians anymore. We need every single room for all the people we're bringing into the Army.
Cool.
And we're going to be training them there. And that happened for 3 years.
How did that hotel make money? Well, the government, I guess.
The government supplemented it.
Yeah.
So it didn't reopen for civilian use until 1944, which, by the way, is funny to me because the war wasn't over yet. They were probably like, yeah, I think we got this in hand. So just in case, we're going to go ahead and let you start making money.
They
from
might
your
have
hotel
opened other actual hangars and bases and stuff to train them in.
I think they had just gotten pretty much every human body that they could filter over there by 1944,
Okay.
so they didn't need the massive influx of people coming in from the draft. But anyways, 3 years they housed nothing but Air Force recruits or drafted people to train them, and then they went back to renting out to civilians in 1944. And to fast forward this a little bit, it had makeovers and renos in the 50s and 60s to add in some fancy stuff.
Jonathan Drew Scott.
I'm sure they were involved. They added in a ballroom, new suites, restaurants, and then I think in the 60s they started adding in some new technology like escalators and stuff like that.
Oh, that's cool.
So this sounds like a pretty nice place to stay, right? And it probably still is, but what could possibly be off about this place? Well, a lot. Now, at this point, I would like to put out the normal disclaimer that this could all be bullshit, like we always say. But that said, while I cannot confirm some of these backstories, the ones I can confirm, I will let you know as per usual. So there was a writer by the name of G. Herb Palin. Pretty sure that's how you say his last name. It looks just like Sarah Palin, so that's just what I'm going to say. So he was called, at the time, quote, the highest paid writer in the world back in the early 1900s. So you're probably asking yourself, what did he write? Well, he wrote slogans, because back then everything had to have a slogan, which is typically shorter than a sentence is how long a slogan goes. But like everything, like if you're a supervisor and you want your team and your company to have a slogan, you would hire this guy. And he was getting paid like $100 in like the 1920s to write a sentence.
Wow.
And to make it snappy, to make it catchy, something that would stick in your brain, like Costanza, which is a Seinfeld reference that you totally don't get.
Oh, okay.
He said, like,
I was like, what?
There's an episode where he's like, I need to be annoying but stick in her brain so she doesn't forget me, like that by Menon, because that was like a brand back in the day. So he used his last name. So anyways, as a side note, there's only one type of writing that makes more money, and that's ransom notes. And that's that joke is totally from Get Shorty, so 100 points if you got that. Those points aren't worth anything. But why do I bring this guy up? Well, is it to tell you that he coined the phrase safety first? Yep, that was him. He's the one that first came up with the phrase safety first.
Wow.
So no, that's not why I brought him up. I brought him up because he was walking through the legendary Peacock Alley. Maybe he was trying to get to Diagon Alley and he just said the wrong word.
Stop it.
But he was walking through Peacock Alley in 1928 when he dropped dead of a heart attack. They don't know exactly why. He hadn't shown any signs until that point, but they found his body when they're like, we don't know where he is.
Muggles.
Someone check the underground tunnel. I hate you so much. So at this point, I usually hit you up with like a follow-up about ghost stories surrounding that specter of the person who died in this place. But alas, there's nothing to really be found about Palin. It's just a very interesting death in a very interesting spot. And perhaps it's because Peacock Alley was bricked off and is no longer accessible at all, that there's no stories about him, because if he haunts the place, you imagine it would be that spot. Yeah, I'm sure the government has to be involved to brick this up. It couldn't be like the hotel bricking the thing up.
But what if it's a government conspiracy? Like somebody killed him and like they were like, okay, we can't have people coming in here because there's too much evidence.
Why would it be the government? Why is it always the government doing these things?
I don't know.
It can't be a private firm that did this, or the
maybe
hotel.
It's the mob.
They did run booze through this tunnel at one point.
So maybe it was the government that closed it off because they were like, you can't run rum through this spot anymore.
This is just so bad. So fun theories though. So it's been bricked off for a very long time, like long enough where people don't even know where it is anymore. Like maybe someone in the hotel does.
You gotta knock on the right bricks for it to open up.
I hate you. I literally wrote down like, anyone who does know about this isn't telling, so this sounds like a job for, and then I put the cool two, and in parentheses, we need a solid dynamic duo nickname because we don't really have one right now. So we're going to have to think of something.
I don't know. I just know I like being called Robin Graves.
So you're just going to give yourself another alias. That's very selfish of you, Robin. Thank you for that. It's also like a pretty macabre mainstay in the hotel, and it's this thing known as Drywall Dave. So let me get into this a little bit. So there's this story that is during one of the renovations, a man apparently named Dave, or he's just nicknamed that now.
Was he found in the drywall?
Was accidentally in a wall while it was being sealed up. And not just the whole, oops, like we sealed it off with Dave inside. Like they were pouring like concrete or plaster into the wall while he was in there.
Why doesn't he scream?
So at some point when he like was getting dumped on, he realized like, oh, I'm gonna die. So he started to reach out to try and like not die, and he grabbed like the crossbar of some of like the supporting frame and was unable to remove himself or had drowned at that point or whatever. And there is a picture, this exists, of a hand coming out of a wall holding a crossbar that has been like covered in either concrete or plaster.
Wow.
That said, there's no like actual historical reference to someone dying
Dave
in the
had
walls.
a bad day.
Yeah, it sounds like it, doesn't it? And there's nothing where, okay, let me just put this out there. They've never done tests on this thing to see if it's like a human being or a human glove with like a glove with a human hand inside of it, which you imagine they would do if they knew someone died there, you know? Or if at the time the foreman was like, Dave died, just leave him in there and no one will
so
know.
His body's still in the wall?
That's what supposedly has happened. And what I'm saying is, if you sealed a body in a wall, the only reason you would leave it is because no one would know. If you sealed a body in a wall and the hand was coming out, you wouldn't leave it like, well, shit happens, it's just another Thursday. Like, and the family would know, like, Dave is dead now, we want his body to bury it. Where is he? What's that hand in the wall? That kind of thing. Like, there would be a reason to get him out of the wall. What has likely happened is some bored construction worker just put his glove there and poured something over it. And the fact that, like, anyone who has the ability to just go and test it doesn't do it, doesn't just go over there and like crack the thing open and just see if there's a hand inside the glove, because at that point you'd probably want the skeleton removed from the wall.
Yeah.
But there is, I'll put the picture up on our Instagram, like a hand coming out of a wall grabbing onto like a crossbar, and people have of course like built up this legend calling him Drywall Dave, when realistically it's probably just like some local lore that was just like thought up because like some construction worker got bored. So you're probably asking yourself like, well, these last two aren't exactly ghost stories or complete bullshit, so are these all bullshit? Well, probably, but they do get more interesting. And this next one is actually kind of sad. So the 12th floor
Dave wasn't sad?
I don't really think so, because I don't think Dave is real. And like if people were sad about it, they try and get Dave out of that wall. I'm just saying. But the 12th floor is said to be a hot spot of paranormal activity. And guests and hotel workers alike describe feelings of dread while they're on that floor without even being in any room in particular. In fact, like they could just be walking through the hallways and it just feels like something's wrong. And one feels as though they're being watched when they walk through the hallways.
That's creepy.
And multiple people have reported being set upon by a feeling of not just anxiousness, but even panic that just does not seem to go away. There's an account that was written on the blog of a man named Pete Evans, who is a judge on the show My Kitchen Rules. Never seen it.
Never seen it. Or heard of it.
He mentioned the fact that he was staying at the Congress and he was going to his room, and he said, quote, "It suddenly felt eerily cold, and I sensed that something just wasn't right with the energy, not only in the hallway, but even more so once I was inside my room. I tried to shake it off and tell myself it was all in my head." At this point, I'm going to take a break from his quote and tell you that he is a skeptical. Like, all the things he had heard about it, he was just like, I don't care. It doesn't matter. That stuff's not real. And he mentions that later on where he's like, I don't know what it was. I'm not going to speculate on it. I'm not that type of person. I'm just telling you what happened to me. So he said that he got to his room and he thought it was all in his head. He continued, "The extremely uneasy feelings did not go away. If anything, it became more intense, so I grabbed my bags and pretty much ran out. I bypassed checkout, jumped straight into a cab, and got the F out of there. There's no doubt in my mind that what I felt was real, but to each their own." So whatever happens on the 12th floor happened recently. I think this was like 2016. And this guy was just like, no, dog, I'm good. Like, even a skeptical was just like, I'm not staying here. Like, middle of the night, not even going to check out. I'm just leaving this hotel and I'm going to go find a different place to stay.
It's crazy.
So the 12th floor is pretty infamous for this. And one particular ghost that is seen on the 12th floor, and this is where it gets sad, is that of a 6-year-old boy who is spotted running around the hallways and on occasion, even chasing guests before disappearing entirely.
Does he have a twin?
No, he doesn't.
Do they want them to
I
play
hate
with
you.
them?
No. Side note, children are creepy, especially when they're ghosts. So
Children are creepy, and like, I don't know, just the idea of having a kid around that has no parents around, it's just this thing that's okay, maybe not a thing.
Wow, that's pretty messed up, Robin.
But no, I'm just saying, like, the spirit or entity or something, you know, that's taking a form of a kid, that disembodied laughter, that super, it's just when they take the form of children, it freaks me out.
And children in general freak you out as well. I mean,
kids aren't that bad.
That's good to hear. You're coming
I'm
around.
growing on them.
It took 65 episodes, but you're coming around. So this story is debated, and that said, there is quite a bit of truth to it. So reports from the time this took place are confirmed. You can find these if you look deep enough. And despite that, there's still debate regarding like the origin of the folks that are going to be talked about here. And what I've seen reported most often is the following. In the 1930s, there were these guys called the Nazis. Some of you may have heard of them. This shouldn't be a big shock considering they're still around today.
The ones that keep correcting my grammar?
No, different ones. These are the ones that wanted people dead, basically. But they were rising to power in Germany and Eastern Europe in general back then, and the writing was on the wall that some really bad shit was about to go down. So people started getting out while the getting was good. And that's a really weird phrase because obviously the getting was not good. Yeah. It just wasn't deadly yet. And there was a woman, and I've read articles that name her Adele, but there's not a whole lot of confirmation on this person aside from the fact that the articles back in the day when this happened just referenced the woman who it happened to. Yeah, they don't reference her by name.
They're rolling the deep.
I was so sure you're going to go with Hello from the Other Side. But she had escaped from either Germany or Poland or Prague. And for those of you who don't know, Prague was in Czechoslovakia at the time with her 2 sons. And the debate here is about where she was from. Which at the time is like not surprising. People were just getting out of Europe if like any sort of Nazi influence was showing up, especially if they had any sort of ties to like a Jewish like legacy or Jewish history in their family, because it was going to be used against them.
Right.
So she relocated from there to Chicago, Illinois. So like many people that are fleeing a very dangerous situation that could cost them and their family their lives, they fled with the thought of noping the fuck out being primary in their mind. So they didn't really worry about legally immigrating to the United States of America. And regardless of where they were primarily just afraid of where they were going to go back to. And authorities had found out that this woman and her sons were staying in the Congress and were preparing to deport them back to their country of origin. Some parts in the story state that it wasn't the U.S. people that were going to send them back, but the U.S. people had been paid off and were looking the other way, while Nazis who were operating within America were bringing people back to the countries that they had left from. It obviously is very illegal. So in a panic, this woman, feeling like someone was going to come get her and take her back.
Did she kill herself?
Rather than go home, she took both of her sons and threw them from the 12th floor window.
Oh, shut
before jumping out the window herself to join them.
No way.
So the story is sadly apparently true. The woman did throw both of her sons from the room. People can argue about why she did it. But what is known for sure is that the fear of what was going to happen or just some insane thought in this woman's head triggered her to make what can only be described as a really bad decision. And it cost her and her kids their lives. And the 6-year-old boy that is seen on the 12th floor started being seen after this incident and is supposed to be one of those boys who was thrown from the window. So that's super sad because they only see one boy. The mother has never been seen. So if you see that ghost, why don't you just play with the ghost kid, please? Because like he's probably just really, really lonely. And there are also sightings of a man, and this one's kind of weird, who is said to be dressed like a gangster from the 1920s Prohibition era. So not shockingly, people who report seeing this particular ghost report it as having seen Al Capone. And if you look on any website, it says that Al Capone's ghost haunts the Congress, and you can see him there if you go. And it's really weird because he was barely there. He didn't live there. He only went there for some meetings. He's probably only there like a handful of times in his life. But of course, if you see a ghost that's in this like garb from that period, you assume it's Al Capone. And like we've talked a lot before about ghosts that haunt places that they didn't die at. We've talked about how maybe their echoes can be seen in places where something significant or traumatic happened. And that said, I find it really hard to believe that this ghost that's being seen, whether or not it exists, if it exists, is Capone. Like, yes, he was known to go there from time to time, but like, would he really be haunting this place after his death? Like, it's just annoying to me because his thugs were there way more than he was. Like, some even lived there, which means that whatever horrible thing that happened to them during their lives during Prohibition time while they were gangsters, like running booze, like anything they went through, any traumatic event that could cause them to haunt that place, happened to them while they lived there. So it would make more sense that it's one of them and not Capone, and everyone just assumes it's Capone. And I just imagine some sort of gangster ghost named like Jerry, like, you see, like I'm here to haunt you. And everyone's like, oh my God, it's Al Capone's ghost. And he gets like all sad and he just disappears and he's like, no one loves Jerry. Aw,
Aw,
nuts.
no one loves Zoidberg.
And it makes me very, very sad. So it's like, it seems like every haunted place that we do has multiple ghosts that are always like very weird, like this one. And there's another one that has a really solid nickname, which happens very frequently with all the haunted places we do as well. And the Conger Plaza Hotel is obviously no exception because they have a ghost named, I'm not joking, Peg Leg Johnny.
What?
And he's the ghost of apparently a homeless man who lived and died in the alley behind the hotel.
I'm assuming his name was Johnny.
I'm guessing, but they don't really know. And give me one sec. I need to make sure that his name is actually Johnny and this thing didn't autocorrect. What are you looking at?
Just the art on the wall.
He apparently lived there before the hotel was even constructed, so that had been his alley for a very long time. And his cause of death was supposedly murder that was never solved. Someone murdered him in the alley behind the hotel, and because of that, he can be seen within the hotel.
That's really sad.
It is. And anyways, he's not a malicious ghost. Like the kid who likes to chase people, he seems to be more of a rapscallion than a demon. And
They
he
both
likes
sound like pirates.
well, he shows up to turn on and off light and electronic devices, which, while creepy, is more inconvenient than terrifying. It's more like, oh, who unplugged my phone? It didn't charge last night. Like, how am I going to play Shoot and Merge now? Which is just this stupid game that we found that just like has consumed our lives. Like, if you're looking for a game to play on the toilet, this game is not the game. Your legs will go numb. So I'm not recommending Shoot and Merge. It has a million different ads. I'm just saying that it's consumed my life. But yeah, that's the thing that I would think of if like Johnny showed up and unplugged my shit.
All right.
But he's not just an invisible specter with a clever name either. Sometimes these ghosts you never actually see in apparition. You just have this odd behavior that you hear about and you like assign it to a ghost. Like he's actually been seen. Like workers and guests report seeing a man with a peg leg in the hotel. And like Robin just said, I cannot for the life of me figure out why this guy didn't get a nickname like the Pirate Ghost. Like he has a peg leg, for God's sake. That is just a giant missed opportunity.
The Pirate Ghost is not as catchy as Peg Leg Johnny.
Are you sure? I think the Pirate Ghost is just way, way cooler.
Or the Captain.
The Captain is a really good nickname. That would have been really good. So there is also a shadowy figure of a man that has been seen by multiple guests that is stated to be quite frightening. Although during my digging on the accounts of this shadow figure, I cannot find any activity outside of simply showing up and scaring people. So I found a lot of sites that talk about all these ghosts in the Congress Plaza Hotel. One of them is called mysteriouschicago.com. Pretty solid URL.
Yeah.
And they did some pretty good research, and I was actually pretty impressed with it, which is why I'm giving them a shout out. And they stated that they spoke with a guard at the hotel that claims to have seen this shadow and chased him all the way up to the roof of the hotel, where it promptly disappeared. And it's suspected by this particular site, by mysteriouschicago.com, that the identity of this shadow is actually a gentleman that was named Captain Lou Osteen, which is funny because you just said Captain. And he was a war veteran who stayed in the hotel in the year 1900.
Oh, wow.
So legend has it, and this event did happen, but the speculation behind it is why it's a legend, is that he awoke from a nightmare so terrified one night and so disturbed that he had no choice but to take his gun and shoot himself.
There's no way.
And this appears to have actually been a confirmed suicide within the hotel that did happen.
What?
That said, there isn't a lot about the death aside from the tragic aspect of it that actually connects it to the shadow. Because if you have a ghost and you have a suicide, you might think that's where it came from. No details about the room or even the floor where it happened, so you can't connect it to an exact spot. And the shadow isn't supposedly connected with any particular floor, so it's kind of a leap. It's just like, well, this guy killed himself there, and we also have this ghost that doesn't resemble him at all, so we're just going to go ahead and say, like, yeah, maybe that's him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't exactly connect. And plus the idea that they say that he woke from this nightmare and shot himself is something that can't really be confirmed. It just sounds like local lore fueling a story by providing motivation that no one could ever have known. Like, unless he woke up, picked up his room phone, and was like, yo, dog, operator, I just had a bad dream. And then you hear a gunshot. Like, you don't know if he had a nightmare.
Yeah.
Like, that's just something someone made up. And, like, by phone, I obviously mean a can with a string since it was 1900.
So my government conspiracy doesn't sound half bad.
Still sounds pretty bad, though. So, like any good haunted hotel, there is a room that is called the most haunted, and that is room 441. And it has, according to anonymous and probably fake sources, received the most calls to the front desk complaining of unexplained phenomenon, more than any others, that is. And as a side note, I call bullshit, and I'll tell you why after. So the complaints are pretty consistent. So creepy noises can be heard throughout the room fairly consistently, and they didn't really describe them. I imagine like wailing or moaning. Objects also would be known to move on their own. And the real kicker, though, the thing that gets most people on the phone calling is when you're sleeping, you will be kicked awake. It feels like someone is kicking
What
you.
a douche.
And upon waking, you will see a shadow in the shape of a woman standing at the foot of your bed.
That's so mean.
Which at that point, you'd wake up and think, there's someone in my room who just kicked me. You flip the light on, and all of a sudden they're gone. So this room in particular is fairly well known. And take this part with a grain of salt. In addition to the Hotel del Coronado, which will be another topic in the future, that's another haunted hotel, the Congress is also supposedly to have served as inspiration for Stephen King's story, Room 1408, which was eventually turned into a movie.
Is that the one with Joan Cusack's brother? What is his name?
John Cusack. I think he's actually in that, yeah. But anyways, like I was saying, Stephen King himself has never actually credited the Congress Plaza Hotel or Room 441 as inspiration. It's probably just another thing where, like, someone said it and then it got repeated and they took that as confirmation because they heard someone repeat it, because Stephen King himself has like said Hotel del Coronado is inspiration from Room 1408, but never has it been brought up before. And I don't want to like perpetuate that if it's bullshit.
Yeah.
If you hear it, I'm letting you know that like that's never come from Stephen King's mouth. It's just something people say. And I think a lot of places that have haunted rooms will say that it either was one of the inspirations for something like Room 1408 or something like The Shining, when we all know like it was the Stanley Hotel. It wasn't all these other dinky little hotels. So obviously because of this, people request Room 441 quite a bit. So you've got to be expecting this to happen. So I doubt any accounts that happened recently are from people who didn't realize they were staying in a haunted room. But you know how they say like it's the most haunted room? Well, this is the reason that I call bullshit on that, is that there are rooms on other floors. In fact, so many complaints have been filed about them that the hotel stopped booking them. And when curiosity got the best...
That always freaks me out.
Yeah. When curiosity got the best of some spooky hunters, and it was on a blog that I found where people went to stay at this hotel and they decided they were going to go find these rooms, they looked around and the hotel had not just locked these rooms, but they had sealed off the entrance to one of them. So you see a door frame, and within that door frame is just wall. There's no door. They're just like, yeah, no one's going in here anymore. This room, and the room supposedly still exists behind the wall. They just bricked off the entrance, which is just super, super creepy. And other rooms that they no longer rent as well in this hotel have been sealed off, where the outside has like one of those locks that you put on a shed with like the bolt that gets folded over, and then you put a padlock, like a combination lock through it. And you can see those on several rooms within the hotel.
What?
Which is just like, and it's on the outside of the door. They're not sealing it from the inside. They're sealing it from the outside, which is just super creepy. And all of those rooms are, of course, on the 12th floor.
Oh, no.
Yes, 100% true. And that's pretty creepy. So like rooms that are sealed, but that are still there, and rooms that are sealed from the outside. But that's the thing. If you have a combination lock on those rooms, then someone could have access to them. Like, all you need is the combination, or if you're not the person who's supposed to have access to it, all you really need is a bolt cutter. And, like, yeah, like I did mention earlier that this has a connection to the American Horror Story Hotel. And the reason is because one of the most famous patrons of this hotel was H.H. Holmes, which is a completely different topic all on his own. And if you don't know who H.H. Holmes is,
if you don't know, now you know.
He was a serial killer, and they say he was like one of the first, if not the first serial killer, which I find hard to believe. I think people have been serial killers before we gave it a name. But that said, like the season of American Horror Story Hotel was based off of the Cecil Hotel, but like the character that made the hotel in the show that like made it like basically a giant like
murder
torture chamber.
Hotel,
yeah, that character is directly based off of H.H. Holmes, which if you want to look up something really creepy, look up H.H. Holmes. Like the place that guy had 100 rooms, and it was called the Murder Castle.
Or just wait till we do an episode on it.
Yes, you could also do that. And he's obviously a topic all on his own, so we're going to have to do him sooner or later. So despite being an apparently really nice place, because the Congress Plaza Hotel is still very nice, it does have a haunted history. And there is a reputation for being haunted out there, but it's still a really, really big place. So we've talked about multiple floors and multiple rooms, but there's over 800 places to stay in this hotel. So, and it has really reasonable rates. Like, I looked the next time we're in
Wow.
Chicago to see what the rates are, and they start at $140 a night, which is fairly like standard.
But is it like fancy, like Hilton fancy?
It's nice though. I don't know if it's Hilton fancy, but it's like downtown across from Grant Park. If we wanted to go see the Museum of Science and Industry, like, this is a good place to stay. You can wake up and it's only a few miles away. So it's like, it might be haunted, but at the same time, if we're ever going to wind up staying there in our lifetimes, I'm going to be more excited about waking up and being in the middle of downtown because it's on Michigan Ave. It's on South Michigan Ave.
Shut up! It's on Michigan Ave?
Yeah. So
or
it's
is it like off Michigan Ave?
No, it's South Michigan Ave. It's directly south. It's on South Michigan Avenue. Like, that's the address for it.
Oh, my Lanta.
You were debating saying Lord or Lanto, weren't you?
Yeah.
So it's a nice place, and maybe someday we'll stay there. Maybe someday one of you will stay there. That said, who knows what'll happen? Maybe you'll see something creepy. Maybe you'll see, like, Jerry the Forgotten Gangster
Maybe
Ghost.
you'll see Al Capone.
I was saying, maybe you'll see Jerry the Forgotten Gangster Ghost, and you control him by calling him Al Capone. But that, dear listener, is the Congress Plaza Hotel. So
nice.
Hope you enjoyed that. If any of you out there, because we have a large listener base in the Midwest region,
yeah.
especially near Chicago. If any of you have stayed there, let us know what it was like. We always like to get some feedback. And I think very soon, perhaps next episode, we're going to get some feedback regarding some new original stories, but most importantly on that Haunted Doll Island that I covered a few weeks ago, because our friend who went there actually returned, and we're going to need to get a debrief from him about just how creepy it was. I'm very excited for that, looking forward to it, and I'm just saying, if you folks have any experiences in any of the places that we've talked about before, totally let us know. So, and if you have any horror stories or spiritual stories or any sort of stories that you want to share with us, please email storytime@scarish.com. You can go to our Facebook page and message us there. It's facebook.com/scarishpodcast. You can also join our Scarish Spooky Friends group on Facebook from there if you would like to. It's really fun. We post a bunch of memes. I have so many memes I want to post there sometimes that I wait. Like, I save them and I wait until the next day to post them because I don't want to spam everyone's feed. But they're not always really creepy. Sometimes they're really funny, so you can join us there. You can also go to scarish.com and click on Contact Us if you'd like to message us and fill out that form and send it our way. You can also check out our store while you're there. And you can also join our Discord by clicking on the Discord link on any page. It's on every single page, so it's the easiest way to find it. Twitter is @ScarishPod and Instagram is @ScarishPodcast. You can reach out to us literally any of those spots if you would like to share your story with us.
So head over to scarish.com. All our social media is on there. If we haven't mentioned it, just go over there, check it out. Check out patreon.com/scarishpodcast if you guys want to help us and support us. Any donations are welcome and help out a lot. I am going to be ordering stickers for this season and mailing out some awesome cute magnets as well that I make by hand, just saying. And
you make the magnets by hand?
Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
That's awesome. I thought we ordered those.
No. I have new magnet buttons. They're like badges, but they're magnets.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so I make those by hand. And then Ko-fi.com, ko-fi.com/scarishpodcast. Those are all one-time donations and help us upgrade our studio setup.
We're about to get a little bit of backlighting, and because we have funds from those two things, we're about to purchase
plane tickets to go to San Jose.
Exactly, and we're just coordinating because we are bringing an extra person along with us. Our camera person's
coming.
Is gonna come. It's Robin's sister, and she has told us that she will not step foot within the Winchester mansion. So we're gonna have to convince her to come with us because we do want to go in there together. That said, we're gonna see how the dates are gonna work out and figure out the best way we can all coordinate and meet up there. But once we have specific details, we will let you know, and we will also post on all of our social medias and our website. So if you guys follow us and you're one of the people who don't listen to the outros of the show and you've missed this, then you'll at least be able to see it. And I don't know why I'm still talking to you because you clearly don't listen to this if you're one of those people. So I think that's just about everything that we have, though, for episode 65, unless you can think of anything else.
Nope. Keep on creeping on, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
Bye.